All right, really quick job here. I'm going to help out a Reddit user. So I'm just going to work in RGB mode because actually I'll flip it to CMYK. File, color mode, CMYK, and I'm working in pixel, but with what I'm going to show right now, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so this Reddit user, which of course I accidentally killed it. There we go. Put it there. Okay. So this image here, he's trying to get this text to contour to this box here. So the easiest way to do that would be, let's first create a box, and I'm gonna make it gray or brown, whatever I selected there. We are gonna pull this down, and I'm going to, there we go, warp it and warp it. Okay, so that's about what he has. Now, I'm going to make a text box that's going to fit within that. All right. And now we want this text to warp to this box. I'm just going to scale it up so it's about the size that you'd see. Okay, so this would want to warp to that. A quick way I could do it would be just to do an arch and apply it to the top left section of the text. The other way would be an envelope distort, and I could distort it, which I'll do that. I think that might be the best. So let's do an envelope warp. Envelope. Make envelope and cancel. That's the wrong one. Sorry. Um, Object. Envelope distort. Make with mesh. There we go. And I want it one by one. So I'm just using the corners. And the quickest and easiest thing would be to use the direct select tool and pull these down. Now it's going to give me a flag bend. What I want to do is just make sure I grab the right side and bend that up. And that is the quickest and easiest way to get that to warp to the contour. Now I can sit and what it looks like is I need to do is bring that over to here, and then this one over to here. So bring that down. And what I'm going to do is, to make it even easier, is I'm going to set a line to indent this. What we're going to do is a red stroke, and I'm going to offset the path. So I'm going to use my appearance palette here. I'm going to select the stroke, which is on top of the object. Go effects, path, offset path, and I'm going to go in until it matches where I'm trying to get this to go. All right, so that looks good. And now I have a guide to where this edge should actually be. So I'm going to zoom in here, use direct select, pull that to there, and then I want this handle to match that the best. Same thing here. I want the handle to match that the best. And I'm going to pull this to the corner here to match that the best. Now what I can do is use just the direct select with the pen tool. Oh, it's not working. Huh. All right. Well, I'll just use direct select and move the handle. Try to only move these ones up and down. Because if you move them left or right, you'll get a distort in another direction. Now, if it needs to be precise, then there might have to be another mathematical one, which what you would do is for the entire shape, you figure out the arch. Now, let me show you what that one would do. So I'm going to copy this out, the envelope and warp here. I'm going to reset it back to default so that, and now I'm going to actually object warp envelope rewarp, and I'm going to release it because I don't need this upper square anymore. I'm going to delete that and just have the text block again. Now, because I warped this, I'm going to move this aside here in the in my my layers palette disappeared. Nope, layers. Nope, not layers. Layers. Oh, it is not coming back up. Weird. For some reason, my layers palette disappeared. There we go. So I put my other palette back, but my graphic styles, I'm going to select this and create a new graphic style so I have that matched. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, let's say that this is the actual halfway mark that he had in this original graphic here. So what I'm going to do is effects warp arch. Okay, it's about like a 10% arch. Let's say that is his bend that he wants to do. What I'm going to do is apply this effect. Oops. Okay, we'll reapply the path offset. So we can see where that would go. So we see that that's there. Now, I can see that he had it halfway. So if the original is, let's say, 10 inches wide, let me move it to inches so that way, because that's what it looks like he's working in. So if it's 29 and a half or 29 and 3/4 wide, then what I should be doing is, let me scale this to fit that text halfway. And let's just hypothetically say I don't know what this arch is. What I want to do is I'm going to duplicate, paste in front, object, expand appearance. Okay, so now I have my lines that I did not know what the distance is to this line, and I'm trying to get this text to fill this area, right? And I'm trying to get it to warp to that field. What I want to do is I can't use this because it would distort funny. What I would want to do is figure out what the approximate height is and go across with an entire box. Then what I'm going to do is duplicate that box, Control C, Control F, and then I'm going to paste, I'm going to make a clipping mask with the top one. That sounds like a lot to do. Control Y, and of course now I can't select that for some reason. I should have just left it in here. So I'm going to make a clipping mask. Okay. Now I'm going to my layers palette here, and I'm going to duplicate that upper clipping mask that I made. Then what I'm going to do is, because I have that in the place that I want, then I'm going to select the upper rectangle. Then I'm going to make envelope distort with top object. Now, when I warp this, so if I were to go to effects, warp arch, I can figure out approximately where the edge of that is, and I can come in here and let's just hypothetically say I found the magic number was 10% arch. Now I can warp this outer box and it won't break that text. And then to get back to that, oops, go back up. Okay. Nope. The lag. I hate the lag. To get back to editing of the object, I click here. Now, because it was in a clipping mask, I'm going to have to double click in and then double click in again. Come on. It's not letting me get into here. But if you see, no, that's expand. So you'll have to manually get back in because you have a clipping mask. The clipping mask will keep the entire object to that field. If I were to change this outer box, it will change the scale of the entire artwork. So what you want to do is figure out what that is that you need to scale to. So that way you can warp everything to that. And then that way it will get you the better math, and that way it stays nice and straight in your original, and you can actually come back in here and retype and edit your original text, and you're not going to lose anything. So it keeps it nice and easy to work with, and it keeps future updates. So like, let's say now you want to add artwork to this side. Let's just say I'm going to make a little quick logo here. I don't know why it's not letting me drag when I drop it in there. So like, let's say I want to add this logo to it. All I have to do is get it into the relative place, relative, and drag it into that group. And it will place it down in the artwork. And it will warp it for me. So now if I print that, it will be distorted in the right print warp. So I get what you're doing as a cone. I don't remember how to do all the math for it, but there's an actual math thing you could do in Illustrator that will give you in the outcome, it will give you the actual proper warps. But having them provide the arch angle, the degrees of the angle from end to end will really help. But now what I can do, because I have this as an effect, if I come back here to my warp, I have it as a warp arch. If I need to change that in any way, like go up to 11 degrees or 12 degrees, I can easily now manipulate the angle and it will update to my original artwork. And like I said, that is not permanent because now in my layers, I actually can select the artwork and manipulate it still. It was not permanent at all. So that gives you the option so you're not locked down to, let's say, not being able to edit in the future. And then if you really want to get creative, you could turn objects like I have selected here into objects, and then rather than having to go down and drill into layers, I can click on this object, update it, and it will update when I exit. So that gives you another capability of doing things. So if you have repetitive things in your artwork, let's say I had this over here as a logo down in the corner on the back side. And then we go object, and then make sure you stay within your original bounds for your objects, because then you'll start distorting the warp. So this object here is my boundary, and then everything within that needs to stay within that boundary. So object text warp make. So, and now that's even updatable to where it's not permanent in here. And I can easily come in and update and change my stuff and not worried about trying to redo the artwork, figure out the new math. That would be the best way to do it. Hope this helps. Stay creative.